parsers. There are two types of parsers. One is top-down and second is bottom-up parsing. So basic difference between these two parsers is in the top-down parsing, we have, so in both the parsers, we are given a grammar and a string. Okay. Parsing means deriving the string from the given grammar. And every grammar has a start symbol. That is, we have just seen S is the start symbol. So if you are basically deriving the string from the grammar using the start symbol S, then it is called as top-down parsing. That is, you are starting with the start symbol and ending with the string. And in the other way, if you start with the string and start reducing the string and finally you reduce it to the start symbol, then it is called as bottom-up parsing. So in bottom-up parsing, we start with the string and we end with the start symbol. And in top-down parsing, we start with the start symbol and we end with the string. So basically, the movement is reverse in case of top-down and bottom-up parsing. Okay. Now, why people are preferring bottom-up parsing and why it is fast? Because we have a concept of handles. Okay, and we will see what is handles and how they are basically derived and how they are helpful in generating string. Okay, so when we talk about bottom-up parser, you will be given the grammar, and in the grammar there is a start symbol. Okay, and for that start symbol, you are going to construct two different things. One is the item set and two is the states. Okay, so first of all, what is item set and what is state? Basically, if you know clustering, we are just trying to create a cluster of items based on the non-terminals. Okay, and in the bottom-up parsing, every production rule will be basically added with a dot symbol, you can see here. So if the rule is S derives to E followed by hash, then it will be S derives to dot E hash. Okay. Now first try to understand what is closure. Okay, closure means something which are if you say yes, I have a set of phone numbers in my mobile. Okay, so it is nothing but it is my closure set of my friends. Okay, and same is the case with the production rule. Like production rules basically will be able to derive the string if the every production rule knows what is the closure of that production rule. Okay, so if the production rule knows that okay from from a non-terminal e, it is possible to derive another rule like e tends to dot e plus t or e tends to dot e minus t or e tends to dot t, then you can see here in these three rules, the dot is basically looking at e, but now it is looking at t. So you can add new rules of t here. So in this way, you can always create a closure set from the production rule which has start symbol S. So closure set definition is while more items can be added to the set I is our closure set. For each item A derives to alpha dot B beta belongs to I. So you can see alpha and beta are basically the combination of terminals and non-terminals. We are not very much concerned about these two, but we are concerned about B, which is our main symbol. And this dot, if looks at B, which is a non-terminal, then we add every production rule like B derives to gamma, which is present in the grammar. Okay. And it will be added in the form of B derives to gamma if it is not there in I. Okay. For example, if this is the grammar, okay, look at this. I am basically, I have prepared this for you so I can directly explain you from this slide instead of writing. This is the grammar, and now we want to design a bottom-up parser for this grammar. What we will do is we will augment this grammar by adding a dot symbol because we want to process every production rule. Hmm. And processing every production rule means we should be able to start from the left hand side of the production rule and we should end with the right hand side of the production rule. And we'll have to consider every symbol at a time. Hmm. एवरी सिंबल एट ए टाइम का मतलब है कि आपको हर सिंबल को स्कैन करना है बेसिकली जब सिंपल एग्जांपल अगर आप इसको रीड कर रहे हैं WHILE तो यू आर रीडिंग इट फ्रॉम लेफ्ट टू राइट so what this parser is doing it is reading W and then it is looking at H, it is reading H, it is looking at I, and so on. And if it looks at some capital letter, which is a non-terminal, then it will add the reference of that non-terminal within the state. Okay. So we are constructing the states like this. Are you getting? So for example, one more time, this is the grammar. So we are augmenting the grammar by adding the dot at the beginning of every production rule. Okay. This is just a mechanism to scan the production. Why we are adding dot? Basically, it is a symbol which has no meaning, but it gives you some idea that yes, you are starting from left hand side and you are moving towards right hand side. Okay. So S derives to E hash will be change to S derives to dot E. Okay. Now the point which I want to clear here is in this particular state for the first instruction or for the first production rule, S derives to dot E. Dot is looking at which symbol on the chat window? Write down. Dot is looking at which symbol on the chat window, right? Whether it is looking at E or T or opening bracket, dot किसको देख रहा है? लिखिए चैट विंडो पे. Am I audible? आवाज आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
So write which symbol dot is looking at. डॉट किस सिंबल को देख रहा है? ये सिंपल क्वेश्चन है ना. ए को देख रहा है, बी को देख रहा है, सी को देख रहा है, डी को देख रहा है, किसको देख रहा है डॉट?
Sir, B.
Sorry. Write
Sir,
your
पहले से
answer on the
question.
chat. You have the chat window visible from your system or mobile. So dot is looking at capital yes and S derives to dot EA. This is the rule. Where dot is what is dot is able to see? Dot is able to see what? E. Okay. So now you will add the rules of E. E derives to E plus T. From here this rule is coming. E derives to again dot E minus T. This rule is coming here. And E derives to dot T. Why the rules are added? Because this E has three rules in the grammar, and these three rules are added in the state. Once these three rules are added, you will check whether any other rule can be further added. So here E is the symbol, here E is the symbol, but here there is a new symbol T. So again you come to the grammar, add the rule of T and add the rule of T. But now the problem is why we are not able to add any further rule, because there are two types of symbols in the grammar. One is the terminal symbol and one is the non-terminal symbol. Okay. So if it is a terminal symbol, you don't need to proceed further. Okay. If it is a terminal symbol, you don't need to proceed further. But if it is a non-terminal, then you need to proceed further. Non-terminal is capital letter and terminal is small case letter. So if I write X, okay, I don't have the slate today. So if I write suppose capital E, okay, then it is a terminal, non-terminal. And if I write small x, then it is a terminal symbol. Okay. So here you are not adding anything after this because this opening bracket is terminal, ID is also terminal. So we are done with the state. Okay. Now we want to process this state. So what we do is next step, what we do is we continue with the go to part. First is the closure part and second is the go to part. So go to I comma x. I represent the state, x represent the symbol. And if you want to write go to I comma x, then it will be a derives to alpha x dot beta if there is a production a derives to alpha dot x beta. इसका बहुत सिंपल मीनिंग ये है कि if you have something in the form of a derives to alpha dot x beta and you want to process x, you can simply let this dot cross x. A dot x के आगे आ जाएगा. It means that now the symbol x is processed and your handle become alpha x. Okay. So that's the very simple idea. You can see some red, blue and green and black ink here. Let me show you what does all this means. So if I write s derives to dot e, okay, hash, right? And again, s derives to dot e plus t and s derives to dot e minus t. This is your state 0. Then you will write go to I0 comma e. Why you are writing go to I0 comma e? Because you are processing the e first. So here e will be crossed, here e will be crossed, here e will be crossed. Okay. Now, when we are crossing e, it means that there is a possibility of adding a new rule to the state, but only if the dot is looking at the non-terminal. Here dot is looking at plus, here dot is looking at minus, and here dot is looking at hash. So no non-terminal symbol is seen. Hence we continue with this and we don't add anything to this. Okay. If you say what will happen here in state 2, we will write go to what? I0 comma t. So dot will cross t. State 3, we will write go to I0 comma opening bracket. Now, very important, let me write here. I will share my screen again to you so that you will be able to understand further. Now I am having the screen also, and let me insert some. So this is my another component. Okay. Right. So what we are doing is now we have this state, okay, and we want to write go to, okay, go to I0 comma capital T. Okay. So this will be E derives to T dot. So this rule is completed now. Let me enlarge this for you. Look at this, whether you understood. Next time we'll write what? Go to again I0 comma opening bracket. Okay, so opening bracket, I'm just putting this as curly bracket here since there is opening bracket. So this is go to I0 comma opening bracket. Now you try to understand this. E derives 2 dot E. Okay, now dot is looking at E, so we'll have to write E derives 2. Now E derives 2 dot E plus T. Okay. Another E derives 2 dot E minus T, and another E derives 2 dot T. Okay. Now again, this dot is looking at T, so T derives to what? Dot. So this is recursion for you, students. Are you getting? We are processing the rule, but we are getting the rule again. So this is the simple example of recursion. Okay. Go to I0 comma opening bracket. Any questions on this? Are you getting this? What is this line? Go to I0 comma opening bracket and go to I0 comma T. Are you getting this? Yes or no? Today no response from your side. Are you able to hear my voice? Yes, you're getting good. One answer, human. Any other? Mitali, Rabani, Ruchik. Are you getting? Shiba. Or there is some more question, Fatima. Nobody wants to interact. So basically what we have done is we have created some state. One is state 1. This will be your state 2. Okay, let me just put this slightly bigger. So this will be your state I2. This will be your state I3. Can anybody tell what will be I4 and what we should write for I4? Can anybody tell? I4 will be what? So I4 will be simple. Go to I0 comma ID and we will write T derives to ID and dot. Let me enlarge this. Are you getting this? And this will become our state equal to what? I3 ho gaya? It will be I4. Okay. So now what we have completed is the processing of state I0. We will try to process state I1. We will try to process state I2. We'll try to process state I3. And we'll try to process state I4. So the state in which dot is at the end is considered as complete state and you don't have to process it. Okay. The state in which dot is at the end is considered as completely processed state and you don't have to basically basically you don't have to process it because it is not having any symbol left for processing. Okay, so let us move further. On the same lines, we have I1, we have I2, I3 and I4. Okay, so now let us try to write something for I1. Let me remove this and let us try to write something for I1. So we will write first go to I1 comma hash. Okay, and since we are writing I1 comma hash, we will write S derives to, okay, what? E hash dot. Second we'll write go to I1 comma plus. Okay, look at this. This is again you should understand. E derives to E plus dot T. So what is dot looking at? T. Take the base rule. T derives to what? T derives to dot opening bracket E and T derives to dot ID. Okay, so this becomes your state I5. Okay, This becomes your state what? I5. This becomes your state I6. And then we continue further. So check whether you have any questions on this. And if you have any questions, please clarify your doubts. So I0 was there, then we have derived I1, okay, by crossing E. Then we have derived what? I2 by crossing T. Then we have derived I3 by crossing opening bracket, and then we have derived I4 by crossing ID. Then we have derived I5 by crossing this hash. Then we have derived I6 by crossing the plus. And now look at the slide. We are now deriving I7 by crossing this minus. So once we cross minus, again we will have to add the rules of T because dot looks at T. Okay. Now, can we do processing of what? We are done with I1 now. Okay. This hash is processed, the plus is processed, and minus is processed. So then we go to processing of I3. Okay. Let me write this here for you all. I think I have this. Okay. So we are now processing what? I3. So what is I3? Just look at this. We have done this one. We have crossed this. Now we cannot do anything here. We cannot do anything here. So now go to what? I4 comma E. Go to I4 comma E will be nothing but the dot will cross this E. This is hash is already done. Here plus is done. Here minus is done. Let me show you with the ink here. So for this particular part, we are using this particular state, and for minus, we are using this state 7. Okay. Now, once we are done with state 7, we continue our process with state 4 and we write go to what? So state 4 will be processing E. So state 4 will be processing E, T derives to E dot, and this E dot and E dot. And plus is the terminal, minus is the terminal, so you don't need anything, okay? Then what about this? E derives to dot crossing T, already I2. E derives to dot crossing opening bracket, already I4. And T derives to dot crossing ID, already I3. So we are done with this state 4. State 5 does not require any processing. So we go to 6, process this T. So it becomes E derives to E plus T dot. Again, if the bracket is crossed, this is I4. ID is crossed, I3. Again, minus dot is crossing T. So this becomes state 9. This is already done, I4. This is already done, I3. And finally, we want this dot to cross the closing bracket. So state numbers are not correct in this particular slide, but remaining things are correct. Okay. So just take this state 10 as state 10 will come at 8, and then 8 will become 9, 9 will become 10, and this 10 will become 11. So after we have done processing of state 1, this state 1 will be because of these three rules. State 2 will be because of this rule. State 3 will be because of the rule opening bracket. State 4 will be because of rule ID, and so on. So state numbers are not correct, but remaining things are correct. Okay. So same thing happens here also. Look at this. Let me show you this grammar on this slide. So if it is visible or not. Let me start this. This. So this is the grammar. S dash derives to S. The second rule is S derives to A, capital A S. Then third rule is what? S derives to C. Fourth rule is A derives to BA. Fifth rule is A derives to SB. Sixth rule is B derives to BA. And seventh rule is B derives to S. So what we are doing here is we are adding the dot, and as soon as the production sees S, rules of S will be added. There is no other rule added because it is a terminal. Dot crosses S. Okay, dot is looking at capital A. So add the rules of capital A. Okay, again dot is looking at S. So add the rules of S. Okay, then dot is crossing C, not an issue. Then dot is crossing what? A, again looking at S, add the rules of S. Then what? Now dot is crossing B. Okay, so A derives to what? B dot A. Okay, then next A derives to capital S B. Look at this. Dot is crossing S but looking at B. Rules of B are added. Rules of S are added. So very simple idea. We are creating the clusters here. In case of LR parser, we are creating the cluster of non-terminal symbol and their production rules so that you will be able to quickly derive the string once you reach to the start point of the production rule. Why all these things are done? Because we just want to derive the string as quickly as possible, and once we are able to derive the string from the uh, production rule, we can always claim that the string belongs to the grammar or string does not belongs to the grammar. Okay, this is one very popular problem in most of the books you will see, and most of the professors also teach this problem to understand the idea of LR parser. So again, S derives to E, E derives to E plus T, E derives to T, T derives to F star T, T derives to F, F derives to opening, closing E, and F derives to ID. So what we are doing here is we are again asking the uh, parser to just scan the production rule from left hand side to right hand side. So first it will cross E. Look at the state 0. It is crossing E. Second, it will cross T. Third, it will cross F. Okay. And then fourth, it will cross opening bracket. And fifth, it will cross ID. So once you are done with this whole process of shifting the dot symbol from left hand side to right hand side, you will be able to get the concept of you will be able to get the concept of string derivation.
सर ये लास्ट एग्जांपल के प्रोडक्शंस क्या है?
So there was some parking issue. So now let us. So what happens here is you can see that there is a state 0, state 1, state 2, state 3, state 4, and state 5. So all these states basically are derived from state 0. Okay, right? All these states are basically derived from what? State 0. And now once we have completed the processing of state 0, we will start processing state 1. We'll start processing state 2. So the states in which the dot is at the right hand side, okay, for such states there is no need of processing. For such production rule there is no need of processing. So remember that if the dot is at the right hand side, okay, so they ask you the question like how will you predict the shift reduce conflict. So there are two types of conflicts in LR0, okay. One is called as reduce conflict and one is called as shift reduce conflict. You can just concentrate here, students, this is important because you will find this question many times. What is this question like? You will be given the production rules and they will ask you that what is the probability or what is the chance of having a reduce conflict or shift reduce conflict. So shift reduce conflict you can directly determine from the given production rules of the grammar. Shift reduce conflict you can directly determine from the given productions of the grammar. Look at this. In this particular rule, there is f, okay, and dot, and in this also there is f and dot. The difference in this rule is f has some more component. Same here, S and E followed by dot, and E has some more component. So for such rules, there will be a conflict called as shift reduce conflict. Okay. If you see such rules in the process of converting this grammar into states, then then definitely that grammar is not LR0 because there is a conflict of shift reduce. Okay. So I hope you understood how to basically check whether in the given grammar there is a shift reduce conflict or not. Shift reduce conflict exists if there is a production rule which has the non-terminal and there is a non-terminal, uh, there is a dot symbol but there is no terminal or non-terminal exist here, but there is a terminal or non-terminal exist here, then there will be definitely a shift reduce conflict. Okay. Have you understood this? What is shift reduce conflict? There will be a reduction when the dot is at the end of the production rule, and there will be a shift when the dot is inside the production rule. So if in a particular state there is a shift also and there is dot at the end, then in that particular state there will be a shift reduce conflict. Okay. शिफ्ट रिड्यूस का मतलब है कि आप शिफ्ट भी कर रहे हैं डॉट को और एक रूल को रिड्यूस भी कर रहे हैं. सो बेसिकली यू कैन नॉट डू दिस टू थिंग्स टुगेदर, एंड in a grammar if there is a shift action also and reduce action also, then such grammars will be basically represented or basically called as not LR0 or ambiguous grammar. Let me come to this also one more time. This is the grammar. What we have done is we have augmented the grammar here, and once we are augmenting the grammar we are adding a new rule so that the start symbol will come on the right hand side. You can see that every point where the start symbol has to be on the right hand side, okay, so that it will finally it will act as a termination component. Okay. So why do you want the start symbol on the right hand side? Because you always do the reduction on the right hand side. You don't do the reduction on the left hand side. Okay. So if this is the grammar, you augment the grammar by adding a new rule and adding a dot at every start of the rule. And then you create the state I0, I1, I2, I3, I4, and I5. Okay. So this is your I4, this is your I1, this is your I2, this is your I3, and this is your I5. Okay. So I0 is the main state. Okay. This state is called as I0, where you put the dot symbol and then you convert this to I1, I2, I3, I4. Okay. This is your I4 and this is your I5. So logically, what is happening in all the states is the dot is basically moved one place forward. look at this. In I1, the dot is crossing E. In I2, the dot is crossing T. In I3, the dot is crossing F. In I4, the dot is crossing E. In all this, the dot is only looking at the. So, can you say there will be some conflict here? Or can you say there will be some conflict here? Yes. This is reduction and this is shift. So, this is called as shift reduce conflict. So, without constructing the parsing table, sometimes in the gate exam, they give you this box and they ask you whether there will be a conflict in the parsing table. Without processing, select the choice true false. Okay, so the conflict will be there because in one case dot has crossed E and come to the end, and in another case dot has crossed T but not come to the end. Is here also dot has crossed T, come to the end, and dot has crossed T but not come to the end. Okay, so this is shift reduce conflict. This is I3, not an issue, ending, but there is no other rule. This is I4. Why E is added? Because dot is looking at E. Why T is added? Because dot is looking at T. Why F is added? Because dot is looking at F, and so on. And finally ID. So once we are done with I0, we can process I1. So for I1 will not process this, but will process this dot. Dot looks at T, continue further. Dot looks at F, continue further, and continue further till the dot is able to look the non-terminal, because we are creating the cluster of non-terminals. Okay, and their production rules. Here dot is looking at F, add the rules of F. Okay, so this becomes I6, this becomes I7. Cross this E, so this becomes I8. When you cross this T, this will become I2. When you cross this F, this will become I3. When you cross this opening bracket, this will remain I4. And when you cross this ID, this will become simply I5. Further, we move ahead. So this becomes your state I8, I7. Okay. Further, we process I6, dot crosses T two times. Okay. Again, there will be the conflict of shift reduce. One is reduce and one is shift. Okay. Further, dot crossing what? Opening bracket. So it is I4, dot crossing ID. It is I5. This is pure example of recursion. Okay. Here you are calling this particular production rule and you are deriving this state. You are calling this particular production rule and you are deriving this state. Okay. Further, I9 is done. Go to I7, cross F. This will again call what? I4. This will again call I5. And now, once we are done with this, take I8 and construct I11. If you look at this, there is no need of processing this rule, but T and then star F. So T and star F will lead to I7. Okay, right? What is that? I9 derives to what? So I7 derives to opening bracket will be I4, I7 derives to ID will be I5. But similarly, we will have to process what? I9 derives to this asterisk, and I9 derives to asterisk will be simply what? Where is that state where asterisk is processed? It will be I7. Okay. And further, we can also write what? I7 derives to F. So this becomes star. I7 के फिर से दो rules आ गए हैं. I6 के rules आएंगे. Okay. And similarly, you will also have the rules of I9 and only I9, not I10. Okay. So in this way, we can further construct the parsing table. Let me show you how to construct the parsing table from this particular slide. So parsing table will have two parts. One is the action part and one is the go-to part. In the action part, we have the terminals, and in the go-to part, we have the non-terminals. Okay. And whenever we are constructing the parsing table, either we will write the shift or we'll write the reduce. Okay. So let me show you this state and let me show you how we are getting I1, I2, I3, I4, I5. Okay. So if we are processing the non-terminal, Then we'll write here 1, 2, 3. In the first state, we are processing E. In the second state, we are processing T. And in the third state, we are processing F. Let me show you that. First state, we are processing this capital E. Second state, we are processing capital T. And third state, we are processing capital F. But as soon as you process the terminal, you will have to write the shift entry. So where this opening bracket is processed, I4, where the ID is processed, I5. So we write that as shift S4 and S5. Opening bracket is S4 and ID is S5. Okay, clear? Whenever you are processing the augmented rule, this will create a accept entry. So I1 on dollar will be accept. What is dollar is follow of E. Okay. And further, we can say that we are processing this uh, T dot will cross T, but it will lead to what? 6. So we can write here S6, I1 plus S6. Okay, right? I1 plus and S6. Okay. Now look at the processing of I2. It's interesting. Let me show you I2. What is I2 is one time it is dot at the end and one time the dot will cross the asterisk. So dot crossing asterisk, I2 asterisk is I7. So we will write here I2 asterisk S7. But why this R2 is written, let me show you why this R2 is written, because E derives to T dot, dot is at end, and this is your production rule number, this is your rule number 1, and this is your rule number 2. So you have this 2, okay, and further y plus and closing and dollar, because this is the follow of your symbol E. E is basically, you can see it is plus is one follow, opening closing bracket is one follow, and one follow of E will be dollar, because this symbol will create the follow as dollar. So there are three symbols for E as follow, R2, R2, R2. I hope you're getting all these things.
सर
Any question?
मतलब
Yeah,
जब फॉलो
yeah, Himanshu.
सर मतलब जब फॉलो रहेगा तब हमको वहाँ पे R2 लिखना है, फिर जब जिसका भी फॉलो रहेगा उसके सामने वो आते जाएगा,
हाँ, तो
ऐसा
फॉलो
टेबल
कब
बनना
आएगा
है ना
वो
उसका।
इम्पोर्टेंट है। फॉलो जब आएगा, हिंदी में बताता हूँ। डॉट का जो रहेगा ना, वो दो जगह है डॉट। एक डॉट आखिरी में है, इसके आगे कुछ नहीं है, तो फॉलो लिखना है किसका? ई का, ठीक है।
ई का
और
फॉलो।
डॉट अगर बीच में है प्रोडक्शन रूल के, तो जहां डॉट क्रॉस होगा उसका स्टेट लिखना है, ठीक है। तो अब ये देखिए आपने क्या लिखा, I2 कॉमा एस्ट्रिक क्या है, S7। तो आप यहाँ पे शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं I2 एस्ट्रिक S7 पर, ओके। और R2 क्यों लिख रहे हैं? क्योंकि ये जो रूल है E डिराइव्स टू T डॉट, ये रूल नंबर कौन सा है? ये रूल नंबर 1 है, 2 है, 3 है, 4 है, 5 है, 6 है। ये 6 रूल्स दिए हुए आपको। आपने एक नया रूल I0 ऐड किया है यहाँ पर, ओके। तो उसको नहीं लेना है। अब ये जो रूल नंबर है E डिराइव्स टू T डॉट, इट इज रूल नंबर 2, ओके। तो अब जब ये रूल कंप्लीट हो जाएगा तो R2 आएगा, लेकिन कहाँ कहाँ आएगा? तो वो ई के फॉलो में आएगा। ई का फॉलो क्या है? प्लस। ई का फॉलो क्या है? क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट। और जैसे ई स्टार्ट सिंबल है तो उसका फॉलो हमेशा रहेगा डॉलर। अभी समझा?
यस सर।
अब देखिए इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट I3 का। हाँ, अब I3 क्या है? I3 में पूरा खत्म हो गया, टी डी एस टू एफ डॉट, ये कंप्लीट हो गया। डॉट आखिरी में आ गया। कौन सा रूल नंबर है? 1 2 3 4, रूल नंबर इज व्हाट? 4। तो I3 में रिडक्शन होगा कौन से रूल का? फोर्थ रूल का। अब रिडक्शन होगा तो आपको ये देखना है कि कौन से फॉलो सिंबल्स लगेंगे। तो ये बहुत सिंपल है कि फॉलो ऑफ टी देखना है। तो फॉलो ऑफ टी क्या है? एस्ट्रिक 1, और टी यहाँ पर है तो इसका सर्कुलर बन जाएगा। तो फॉलो ऑफ टी विल बी फॉलो ऑफ ई, और फॉलो ऑफ ई क्या क्या है? प्लस, क्लोजिंग और डॉलर। तो यहाँ पे 4 सिंबल बन गए फॉलो के। कौन से? प्लस, क्लोजिंग और डॉलर, और साथ में एस्ट्रिक। तो तो आप देखिए यहाँ पर अब आपने क्या किया है, प्लस एस्ट्रिक क्लोजिंग डॉलर चारों में ऐड कर दिया क्या, R4। अभी बताइए ये समझा या नहीं समझा?
यस सर।
सभी को समझा? थोड़ा बताइए चैट विंडो पे, या अनम्यूट करके भी बोल सकते हो आप, थोड़ा बोलिए। R4 क्यों लिखा समझे सभी को? और चार जगह क्यों लिखा R4? चार जगह इसलिए लिखा है क्योंकि देर आर फोर सिंबल्स इन द फॉलो ऑफ व्हाट, टी। और I3 इज नथिंग बट टी डिराइव्स टू एफ डॉट। देखिए I3 क्या है, I3 है टी डिराइव्स टू एफ डॉट। तो I3 कहीं पे भी नहीं प्रोसेस हुआ, यहाँ पे खत्म हो गया ना I3, तो अब इसका रिडक्शन होगा। इसका रिडक्शन होगा तो किसके लिए होगा, फॉलो ऑफ टी के लिए होगा। फॉलो ऑफ टी क्या क्या है, पहला एस्ट्रिक, और इसके कारण फॉलो ऑफ टी विल बी फॉलो ऑफ ई। ई का फॉलो क्या क्या है, प्लस क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट एंड डॉलर। सो देर आर फोर सिंबल, प्लस क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट डॉलर। नाउ लुक एट आई फोर। देखिए I4 में क्या हुआ, I4 बोल रहे हैं व्हाट, I4 इज I0 कॉमा ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट इज I4। so you will simply write I0 comma opening bracket is I4। okay, S4 आ गया। समझ में आ रहा है? और इट क्लियर, S4 और ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट में आ गया S4। अभी देखिए I4 के साथ में क्या क्या प्रोसेस हो रहा है। I4 के साथ में प्रोसेस हो रहा है T, I4 के साथ प्रोसेस हो रहा है F, और I4 के साथ प्रोसेस हो रहा है ओपनिंग ब्रैकेट, और I4 के साथ प्रोसेस हो रहा है ID। तो आपको लिखना है, देखिए I4 के साथ 823 लिखा आपने, ठीक है। 823 इसलिए लिखा क्योंकि जब आपको प्रोसेस करना है क्या, व्हाट, दिस E, it will become 8। okay, right, clear? I4 comma E will be 8, or I4 comma plus will be what, I4 comma plus will be what, yes, देखिए ना, I4 comma opening bracket S4, I4 comma ID S5। So logically what you are writing is basically the process, okay? And look at this, why we are writing R6 here. So this is your rule number 1 2 3 4 5 6। यहाँ पे आएगा follow of F। Follow of F will be follow of T, very simple। And follow of T is nothing but four symbols। What are those four symbols? प्लस एस्ट्रिक, क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट एंड डॉलर। तो आप यहाँ पे सब जगह R6 लिखेंगे। वैसे आप I10 में भी R लिखेंगे, I11 में भी R लिखेंगे, और जहाँ पे आपने शिफ्ट और रिड्यूस दोनों लिखा तो दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज शिफ्ट एंड रिड्यूस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। ओके, so logically this table has no multiple entries, hence it is called as LR0 parser। So there are a lot of examples like this, which you can see in the slide. So here there is one more example, and where you will write reduction and where you will write the shift. So reduction you will write whenever the dot is basically at the end. Now there is a rule in the grammar in which initially dot at the end is given. So then for such rules you can directly write reduction. So normally they say that in which particular problems or in which particular type of grammar you have reduction at I0 itself। I0 पे जनरली रिडक्शन नहीं आता है क्योंकि I0 को प्रोसेस करने के बाद डॉट विल कम टू द end of the production rule। dot will, you will scan the production rule slowly and then dot will go to the end of the production rule। but there are certain places or certain grammars in which there is a possibility of reduction in I0 itself, and that possibility comes when in I0 you have a production rule in which there is no symbol present on the right hand side. Please remember this. This is also one of the very pet question in the GATE exam. Like if this rule is present, this sixth rule is present in the state I0, what it will cause, whether it will cause shift reduce, simply reduction, or reduce. So such rules will be basically causing the reduction. They will not cause anything like shift or they will not cause shift reduce or they will not cause reduce. Okay, I think yeah. So we are done with the timing today. We can stop here. If you have any questions, please clarify your doubts.
सर
Today
डॉट
what?
अभी जो
हाँ जी.
सर जो रिडक्शन के साथ रिडक्शन केस बताया अभी बी
हम्म.
के साथ डायरेक्टली डॉट आया मतलब वो कोई भी सिंबल नहीं है मतलब वो एप्सिलॉन है क्या वहां पे
हाँ,
कुछ
ये
भी नहीं।
एप्सिलॉन है. वेरी गुड. ये एप्सिलॉन है. लेकिन ये एप्सिलॉन अगर आई जीरो में है तो आई जीरो में रिडक्शन आएगा. जनरली रिडक्शन आई जीरो में नहीं आता है क्योंकि आई जीरो का स्टेट में ऐसे ही रूल्स रहते हैं कि डॉट विल एटलीस्ट लुक एट वन सिंबल. आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? तो जब
यस
डॉट
सर।
एक सिंबल को देखेगा तो शिफ्ट रहेगा, रिडक्शन नहीं रहेगा. But in the state I0, if there is a rule where dot does not have anything, dot is just a dot in the right hand side, then it will create the reduction. Okay?
यस सर।
तो इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आते हैं बहुत बार. और ये क्वेश्चंस जनरली ये कंफ्यूजन स्टेट के रहते हैं कि आई जीरो में रिडक्शन नहीं आता है, ये सबको मालूम है. लेकिन आई जीरो में अगर ये राइट हैंड साइड में दिखेगा आपको, इफ इन द स्टेट आई जीरो इफ यू सी सच रूल्स बी टेंड्स टू डॉट और जैसे आपने बोला बी टेंड्स टू एप्सिलॉन, तो दैट विल क्रिएट द रिडक्शन. ओके.
यस सर।
Okay, fine. So let's meet tomorrow. We will continue with this in tomorrow's class. Okay.
ओके सर।
Right. So thank you for joining. I wish you interact more